Hi, friends. Welcome back to Positive Talks with Mary. I am so glad you're here. And I don't know about you, but sometimes life just sort of throws you into these situations that almost just feel completely impossible. But in these moments, that's when you see God move in ways that you just can't explain. And that is exactly what our is going to be talking about today on the podcast. And I'm joined by Allyson Westmoreland, and she went through a terrifying boating accident where she actually lost vision in one eye. Now, she's going to explain it all and get into the details, but in a scary moment like that, not knowing what was to come next, she felt God's presence like never before. Allyson, welcome. I'm so thankful you're here to share your story with us. And I know it's going to bring encouragement to so many listeners. So let's get into it. Dive right in. Welcome to Positive Talks with Mary.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
So, Allyson, can you take us back to that day? Like, what were you doing leading up to the accident? What was going on? Can you sort of like paint a picture for us?
Sure. My family had gone up to the lake for just a last Rahoo for the summer because my kids were going back to school. And we had borrowed a friend's boat so that we could take them skiing and all that kind of stuff on the lake. And one afternoon, we were out enjoying ourselves, having a great time. And the boat that we were on actually stalled on us. And so it took us a while. We kept trying and trying to get the boat to crank. And unfortunately, it wouldn't crank for us. So we were just stranded out there on the lake. Luckily, these folks came by to check on us. We sort of waved them down, and they were kind enough to come over and check with us and see what was going on. And we told them, and the gentleman said, "Oh, well, no problem. We'll just tow you back to wherever we need to go."
So, when you realized that the boat had stalled, were you thinking anything other than just like, oh, this has ruined our fun day on the lake? Or were you maybe sort of getting worried?
Wasn't initially anything that we thought there was a real problem with, but then we noticed that the boat began to take on some water. And so when that happened, then we became a little bit more concerned, like, we got to get off this boat. It's going to sink. And here we are stranded out here. Then as people started coming by, we began to wave and yell and holler. And some boats, I guess, couldn't see us or hear us and continue to go on by. But thankfully, we did have some folks that came over to see what was going on.
So, about how far did y'all have to go till you reached land or an area where you could get off?
It was a good ways. We were probably 3 or 4 coves over
Oh,
from
wow.
from the place that we needed to go, so it was a good distance, and what I remember is that the gentleman was like, "We'll be happy to tow y'all," and he kinda dug through his stash of ski ropes, and he said, "Oh, this is a good rope right here," and there were several of us, my husband and I, and then several kids, and so we just stayed on the boat while he connected to the front of the boat and tied off to his boat. And knowing that we had a good ways to go, told everybody to get down, put the kids down in the floor. But my son Brett was behind me. He was kind of covered with me, but we got the kids down and started on our way.
So, when the boat was towing you, can you take us through that process though, when everything sort of changed and the rope broke and it came back and hit you, right?
That is correct. So we hadn't been going too far, but a few minutes into the towing, and all of a sudden, I can remember hearing a sound, sort of like a gunshot or just a pow. And I remember screaming. I guess it was just a knee jerk reaction, but I didn't initially feel anything, which was odd. But when we realized that the rope had broken, my younger son, Brett, said, "Mama, did that hit you?" And I said, "No," because it was one of those things that I really didn't realize it had hit me. It didn't hurt at the moment. Again, do remember screaming, but I stood up because my daughter and I were at the very bow of the boat and everybody else was behind us. And I turned around and I thought it had hit her since she had been sitting in my lap.
Mhm.
And I turned around and the look on everybody's face in the boat, I knew something bad had happened. It was just a look of horror. And so I started getting hysterical and crying. And I was like, did it hit her? Did it hit her? Oh my gosh, did it
Oh,
hit her? And my husband spoke up and said, it didn't hit her, Allison, but it hit you. And I was like, it hit me? Where? And he said, it hit you in your eye. And I mean, at first I was like, oh, well, it's not a big deal. But then certainly later I realized it really was a big deal. They described the way that I looked. The eyeball was literally like out of the eye. Yeah.
wow.
And my husband said it looked like a brain. It looked like gray brain. So, by the grace of God, the lady that was on the other boat with her husband, she was a emergency room
Wow.
nurse, and so she climbed over, got in the boat with me, and told me to sit down. She said, "You have a very serious injury. I need you to sit here, and I need you to be calm." She gave me a beach towel. She said, "Just try to keep the towel over the eye. Don't push or anything, but just cover your eye and be as still and calm as you possibly could be." So I got down in the boat because I was scared. I didn't want to be, up there
Yeah.
where anything else could hit me, I guess. And that's the moment that God just settled with me in that boat. I put the towel over my head and I didn't know anything else to do but to pray.
Wow.
And he met me there. He certainly did. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's very intense and that's very crazy. But just to clarify, and there in the moment, you didn't even realize that you were hurt. You had no idea that all of this was going on with your eye.
Yeah, had no idea. I mean, it's so weird. I've heard of instances where people might lose a limb or something along those lines and not realize it. That's kind of what this situation was. In the initial moments, it didn't hurt. It actually didn't hurt me for a while.
Wow.
But I had no, yeah, I mean, I was shocked when they told me that it had hit me. And so, anyway, we were able to continue to be towed and got back to the place where we were staying. And we just loaded everybody up and called the parents of the kids that had come with us. And they all met us at the hospital so they could get their children back. So we went to, I guess it was maybe something like a urgent care or something at that point. When I went in, that's when I really realized the gravity of what had happened to me. Yeah.
Wow. So everybody else on the boat was okay, like your family and nobody else was hurt during this, right?
Right. Yes. But thank goodness nobody else was hurt other than I'm sure some trauma.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
sure that they were,
scarred.
yeah, like, oh my gosh. But I apologize to those parents, but I'm just so grateful that it didn't hit anybody else but me.
Let me ask you this too, Allison. So the boat that was originally towing you, did they continue to tow you back or did somebody else have to come and help y'all get back to shore?
They did continue to tow us. Yeah, they were gracious enough to do that. And we tried to assure them that we knew it was not their fault. We were not going to make them liable for anything. It was just a freak accident, just one of those. Honestly, it was something that I believe was meant to happen. And it was meant to happen to give me a story to tell. I've been able to tell my story many times. And even though it's nothing, life or death or any of that sort of thing, there's no doubt in my mind that God didn't just come and be there. And when we got to Toccoa, to their little place, and they started trying to work on me a little bit, and they realized pretty quickly that there was nothing they could do for me. And told me that they were going to transport me to Gainesville. The doctor there knew the surgeon and said he had called him and he was going to meet us at the hospital. I'll give him a plug, Dr. Jack Chapman. He's a wonderful man. He said, just don't eat or drink anything before you get there. And I was like, okay, why? I mean, I still didn't really know how bad it was. I knew it was bad, but not how bad it was. And he said, "Well, you're going to have surgery when you get there." And I said, "Surgery? Okay, well, what kind of surgery?" And he said, "Well, you've lost your eye. So
Mm.
you will be having surgery to remove your eyeball." I was like, "Oh, wow." That was a huge kick in the stomach. That just like, okay, this is a bad situation then. So they loaded me up and he met me down there, and they spent a lot of time in the beginning in the ER. My eye had a lot of dirt and rope and just icky stuff in it, I guess, from the lake. And so they started picking at it and they were trying to get all this stuff out. Just told them I couldn't do it anymore. I'm like, y'all are going to have to stop. I just can't do this. It was hurting so bad. So they said, okay, we'll just go into surgery and see what we got. So that's what we did.
And you've continuously had surgery on your eye throughout the years, right?
I have, yes. I've had a total of 8 surgeries on the eye. The most recent has been cataracts because
Mhm.
it developed cataracts. But in the beginning, I had like 5 boom, boom, boom surgeries. But when he went in there, thank goodness, the eyeball was still pretty much intact.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so after they were kinda picking at it and I got to where I couldn't handle it anymore, he said, "Well, I don't know, we might can save this eye." I remember when I came out of surgery and saw my husband, that was the first thing I asked is, "Do I still have an
Mm.
eyeball?" And he said, "You have an eyeball." And it's like, "Okay." And Doctor Chapman was like, "We were able to save it, but it's not gonna be any use to you." But at least you don't have to have a prosthetic put in, which is better to not have to put a foreign object in place of the original object. So,
So you still have your original eye, you just don't have any vision through that eye,
right.
right?
That's right.
Okay, okay.
Now I can see light. Like if I close my eye and I look, I can see light. And if there is an object in front of me, I know there's something there, but I might not know what it is. It'll just be a dark something because something's there. But if I had to function with this eye, I would not be able to do that. I would be blind pretty much.
Wow. So let's go back a second when you were in the boat and you had just got hit. You didn't really know what was going on. And you said you just sort of crouched down and God was there with you, that He was near
Mhm.
there in the boat. Like, can you sort of explain that? Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like the peace that you felt?
Yes, I mean, I still remember it. I still get emotional about it because I just got little glory bumps on me right now. Before I could even say, "Dear God," he was right there, and I just felt his presence, and I felt so much peace. And I just prayed and asked him to be with me, that I knew it was bad. I didn't know how bad it was, but he knew what I was going to be facing in the future. And I just asked for him to take every step with me, breathe every breath with me, and give me what I needed to get through it. I got saved when I was 9 years old, and I do vividly remember it. And it was the most profound experience I've ever had up to that point in my life. But I will say that saying that prayer, I could really compare that to the presence of God saving me.
Wow.
It was just so amazing. I had this peace, I had this calm about me. I knew it was bad, but I knew that He was there and He was going to walk every step with me. And He has. I mean, He truly, truly has. It was an amazing experience. He's so faithful and so good. All you gotta do is say his name, you know?
Yeah, that's right. That's a really good point. And speaking of, I've been sort of preparing for this podcast, and I kept asking God to help me in this and to give me a verse that would sort of like go along with your story and what you went through. And I just hadn't necessarily found the right one yet. But today, when I actually got up and I was doing my morning devotional, it was the verse, the exact verse that I was looking for. And I was like, "Thank you, God." And it was from Lamentations 3:55 through 7, and I'm going to read it real quick. It says, "I
Okay.
called your name, Lord, from the depths of the pit. You have heard my pleas. Do not
Mm.
ignore my cry for relief. You came near whenever I called you and you said, "Do not be afraid."
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and I've never been a big tattoo person, and, I mean, I was 41 years old when this happened, but I had Isaiah 41:10 tattooed, "Fear not, for I am with you always."
Mm.
Yeah, I got it because I've had a lot of people ask me, "What does your tattoo mean?" And so I have the opportunity to share my story. And again, I know that there are people out there that have gone through so much more than what I have, but anytime you have the chance to share what the Lord's done for you in your life, whether it be a tragic situation or a yeehaw situation, you want to have the opportunity to share it. So I've been able to do that many times.
Well, and I think that's the amazing thing about it because everybody's story is different
Mhm.
but that's what makes us unique and special and how God uses everybody's story and each person's situation in a different way and even though it might not be like somebody else's story, they could hear it and it resonate with them in a different way that they needed to hear, you know?
Right. Oh, yes. Yes. That's a good point. God can use your experience and it fit their situation perfectly.
Yeah, and I think too, like just hearing your story is encouraging because people do go through different hardships and different situations in their life. But in whatever situation that could be, God is near and He's close and He's not distant. Whether you're on a boat or you're going through cancer or drug addiction,
Mhm.
He is there and He is near and He cares about everybody just the exact same.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. If you reach out and you are faithful, you might not always get the result you were hoping for, but He's going to bring you peace. He's going to bring you comfort. He's going to help you to see the light.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I agree. If somebody is going through a hard time or a situation in their life right now, could you give them a little advice? What would you say to somebody if you could?
Well, my advice would be to seek the Lord daily in whatever you're going through and be bold in what you want. If you want to be cured, ask to be cured. If you want pain to go away, ask for pain to go away. If you're scared, ask for peace. Be bold in what you ask Him for and certainly pray. And sometimes you've got to pray multiple times a
Yes.
day. You know, I
Right?
say the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yes.
The Lord might say, "Okay, I'm gonna take care of you because you keep praying to me about this."
Well, exactly. And there's that Bible verse that talks about how God's peace surpasses all understanding. Prayer does that. If you don't want to be worried, if you don't want to be stressed out, then you got to pray because that's like the only thing that's going to help you.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And we might not always get the answers that we want. It may take us a while to get an answer. My father is 96 years old and he is not saved.
Mm,
And I have been praying for many, many years for his
wow.
salvation. And I know a lot of people in our church are praying for him and it still hasn't happened, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop praying. I'm going to believe. It might take a while, but just don't give up. Don't give up. He hears us. He loves us, and we have to remember things are in his timing, not ours.
Yes, and his timing is completely different because sometimes you're just like, God, can you like hurry up? Do you
I
even hear me right now?
like I've been praying for this, and you still haven't answered me.
Exactly. But looking back now, though, Allison, how do you see God's hand in everything?
It might not be that I see his hand in everything, but I feel it in everything. I just feel like if whatever it is that I'm going through, I just talk to him about it. And again, it may not be the answers that we want or the feeling that we want, but we're sharing with him. He knows our needs, he knows our wants. And just be faithful in your prayer life. He just wants you to talk to him and bring it to him and give it to him. And sometimes it takes a lot of patience to receive whatever answer we get, whether it's what we want or we don't always get what we want, but he knows what's best.
Yeah, exactly. I know you were a Christian before and a woman of faith before this whole entire situation happened, but would you say that helped strengthen your faith? Maybe it made you trust him more in everyday situations.
100%. Yeah. And it's not that you ever doubt, but sometimes you question. But yes, as far as my faith went, it catapulted me for sure. Absolutely. It made me bolder in my faith and more willing to share because I knew he was real, but I had that God experience that I could give them something tangible to hold on to. If I was talking to somebody like, look, this is what happened to me.
Mhm.
And this is the experience that I had. I don't think that I've shared my story with anybody that didn't walk away going, wow, that's pretty cool. She knew God was there. She felt him. And maybe they hadn't had that experience, but it was something that they could understand and be like, wow, maybe that can happen to me one day.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
Exactly. It's just encouragement to other people, and I think that's
Mhm.
what our testimony is all about. Our stories is to help encourage people and to help share our light of Jesus
Mhm.
in us. You were talking about it's not like you doubted God, you knew that he was capable of all of these
Mhm.
things. I feel like sometimes we read in the Bible there's all of these miracles and all of this healing and it's amazing, but sometimes you don't necessarily see that in your life or in
Mhm.
other people and you're like, "Oh, well, God only did that in the Bible times." But
Right.
this
Yeah.
just goes to show sometimes you have to go through a situation to see that God is present and that he does do all of these things, that he's still the same then, now, today, and forever.
There you go. That's right. Yeah. If you reach out, he will come and he will do. But you also have to be mindful that it might not always be what you were looking for or the answers that you were looking for, but he will come. You might have a few more lessons you need to learn before he
Yeah,
shows up, you
exactly.
know? But there's no doubt that he won't be there.
Absolutely, and that just goes to show that he is faithful, and your story,
Mhm.
Allison, has just encouraged me so much, and again, I'm so thankful that you would be willing to come on and share your story, how God has moved in your life and the things that he's brought you through.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I would do it again. I would do it again. If I lived another life, I would say, okay, take me through something like that again because it truly, even though I was a Christian and regular churchgoer and all of that, it certainly took my faith to another level.
Absolutely.
But I will say that even if you don't have profound story like this kind of is, and you have been saved or you've gone through even the slightest little thing of where you felt God's presence, don't be afraid to share it. Just share it because I'm amazed at I've been standing in the grocery store line before and just felt like God was encouraging me to say something to this person. And sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. But every time I have, he's blessed that situation. So if you have a chance, just don't hide your light under a bushel, as that
Yeah.
song used to say. Just let it shine and let others see Jesus in you.
I feel like sometimes it can be scary sharing your story, especially with a random person in the store,
Mhm.
because what if they don't necessarily take it well, or what if you don't have the right words to say? But I feel like instantly when you open your mouth and you start speaking on that, it's like the Holy Spirit fills you and he starts speaking through you and he sort of takes control of the situation, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, us in our own mind will be like, well, what if they get mad at us or,
Yeah,
whatever. But if God's encouraging it, then do it.
that's a
Take the
good
lead.
point. Allison, thank you again for sharing your story. And folks, listen, if you can take one thing from today, let it be this, that God is present in every single storm, and prayer is powerful, and his peace can show up in ways that we can't even explain. But all you got to do is just reach out to him. All you got to do is just call out his name, and he is there. He is present, and he cares for you, and he loves you, and he knows grief. He knows pain. He knows hardship. He knows heartbreak and all of this stuff. And he has overcome all of that. So therefore, we can overcome all of of this because he has and because he loves us. So if this episode encouraged you, share it with someone today. And if you have a story of how God has showed up in your life, maybe it's big, small, or just an everyday thing, I want to hear it. Head on over to positivetalkswithmary.com/be a guest and share your story with me. I'll link that down in the description below. But until next time, trust God, pray boldly, and let his peace guard your heart and mind. And I'll talk to you soon. Also, not to mention, if this story encouraged you, if you got something out of it, please comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts and just connect with you. So I'll see you back here soon.